The email wasn't meant for him. Marcus Reynolds stared at his phone screen, his 5-year-old daughter Emma asleep against his shoulder in the hospital waiting room. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead as he reread the message that had somehow landed in his inbox at 11:47 p.m. on Christmas Eve. It was from Olivia Chen, CEO of the very company where he worked as a night janitor, and it contained something he never expected to see: a wish list. Not for herself, but for her employees. She wanted to know their dreams, their struggles, their secret hopes for the new year. The email had gone to management, but a glitch in the system had copied it to everyone, including him. At the bottom, almost like a confession whispered into the darkness, she'd written her own wish: "I wish I knew if any of this mattered. If success means anything when you're completely alone." Marcus felt something crack open in his chest. Here was one of the most powerful women in the city, and she sounded just as lost as he felt. If you believe that kindness can bridge any divide, that second chances can change everything, please like this video, leave a comment sharing your thoughts, share this story with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us bring more stories of humanity to the world. The next morning, Marcus did something that terrified him. He wrote about Emma, about how her mother had left 2 years ago when the medical bills became too much. He wrote about juggling 3 jobs to pay for his daughter's treatment for a rare autoimmune condition. He wrote about how his real wish wasn't for money or success, but simply for more time. Time to be the father Emma deserved. Time to read her bedtime stories without falling asleep mid-sentence. Time to see her smile without the weight of the world crushing his shoulders. He wrote, "Miss Chen, your work matters because it gives people like me a chance to survive. But here's what I've learned. Success isn't about being alone at the top. It's about who you lift up on your way there." He hit send before fear could stop him, then deleted the email from his sent folder, certain nothing would come of it. But Olivia Chen read every word. She'd spent Christmas morning in her corner office, surrounded by glass and steel and the hollow echo of her own footsteps. At 42, she'd built an empire in tech innovation, had been featured on magazine covers, had given TED Talks about leadership. Yet she'd missed her sister's wedding to close a deal, had lost touch with old friends, had become someone her younger self wouldn't recognize. The accidental email had been a moment of weakness, a crack in the armor she'd spent decades constructing. Marcus's response made her cry for the first time in years. She looked him up in the company directory. Marcus Reynolds, night maintenance, Building C. She checked her calendar, cleared her afternoon, and did something she hadn't done in a decade. She left the executive floor. She found him on his lunch break 3 days later, eating a sandwich in the service corridor while reviewing Emma's medication schedule on his phone. He didn't notice her at first, this woman in a tailored coat who seemed wildly out of place among the industrial pipes and concrete. "Mr. Reynolds?" He jumped, nearly dropping his phone. When he recognized her, his face went pale. "Miss Chen, I'm sorry about that email. I shouldn't have—" "Tell me your real wish," she interrupted, her voice soft but intense. "Not the one you wrote. The one you're too afraid to say out loud." Marcus stood there, this single father with paint stains on his uniform and exhaustion carved into every line of his face, and something in Olivia's directness broke through his defenses. Maybe it was the genuine curiosity in her eyes, or maybe it was the fact that he had nothing left to lose. "I wish," he said slowly, "that I could give Emma a normal childhood, that I could take her to the park without checking my watch every 5 minutes, that I could afford the experimental treatment her doctor mentioned, the one that might actually help her live without pain. I wish I could be more than just the guy who's always tired, always worried, always one emergency away from losing everything." His voice cracked. I wish I could be enough for her. Olivia felt something shift inside her, like tectonic plates realigning. What if I told you that you're already more than enough? That the fact you're fighting this hard makes you extraordinary? With respect, Miss Chen, extraordinary doesn't pay medical bills. She smiled, a real smile that transformed her entire face.
No, but maybe we can fix that part.
What happened next became legend at the company. Though the details were known to only a few, Olivia didn't just write a check, though she did ensure that Emma's treatments were covered. Instead, she did something more radical. She listened. Over the next weeks. She met with Marcus regularly, not as CEO and janitor, but as two people trying to figure out what really mattered. She learned about Emma's love for dinosaurs, about how Marcus read medical journals late at night trying to understand his daughter's condition, about his abandoned dream of becoming a nurse before life intervened. Marcus learned about Olivia's own story, how she'd grown up poor, how she'd sacrificed everything for success, how she'd woken up one day to realize she'd won the race but lost herself in the running. You know what's funny? Olivia said one evening, sitting across from him in the hospital cafeteria while Emma slept upstairs after a treatment. I spent 20 years climbing, thinking that when I reached the top I'd finally feel like I'd made it. But talking with you these past weeks, hearing about how you show up for Emma every single day, even when it's impossibly hard, that's success. That's the kind of person I wish I'd tried to be. You still can be, Marcus said quietly. It's not too late to change direction. She looked at him for a long moment. Is that what you'd do, if you could start over? I wouldn't start over, he replied. I just want the resources to do what I'm already doing, but better. To be present. To help more people than just Emma. Maybe to finish that nursing degree. 2 months later, the company announced a new initiative, the Second Chances Scholarship Program, providing full educational support and flexible work arrangements for employees pursuing healthcare careers.
Marcus was the first recipient. The program also established an on-site childcare center and a healthcare fund for employees facing medical hardship.
Olivia personally restructured her schedule, cutting her hours from 80 to 50 per week, delegating more, and volunteering at the children's hospital where Emma received treatment. She started having dinner with her sister again. She reconnected with old friends. She discovered that the company didn't fall apart when she wasn't there every minute. In fact, it thrived when she led with humanity instead of fear. But the real transformation happened on an ordinary Tuesday in spring. Marcus brought Emma to the office for the first time, her small hand clutching a crayon drawing she'd made, a picture of a woman and a little girl holding hands, with the word friends written in wobbly letters across the top. It's for Miss Olivia, Emma said shyly, her eyes bright despite her pale complexion. Because Daddy says she's our guardian angel. Olivia knelt down to Emma's level, accepting the drawing with trembling hands. Can I tell you a secret? She whispered. Your daddy is mine too. He reminded me what really matters. Emma considered this seriously, then threw her arms around Olivia's neck. In that moment, surrounded by the warmth of this brave little girl's embrace, Olivia understood the answer to her Christmas wish. Yes, it all mattered. Not the deals or the accolades, but this. Connection. Compassion. The courage to be vulnerable enough to change. Marcus watched them, his throat tight with emotion, thinking about how a mistaken email had become the greatest gift he'd ever received. If this story touched your heart, if you believe in the power of compassion and human connection, please take a moment to like this video, leave a comment telling us about a time kindness changed your life, and share this story with someone who needs to remember that we're all in this together. Your engagement helps spread hope in a world that desperately needs it. That summer, Emma's condition improved significantly with the new treatment. Marcus graduated from his nursing program with honors, accepting a position in the pediatric ward where Emma had been treated. Olivia stood in the audience at his graduation, tears streaming down her face, understanding finally that success wasn't measured in market share or profit margins. It was measured in moments like these, in second chances given and received, in the courage to admit you're lost and the grace to let someone help you find your way. In the simple truth that we're all just trying our best, and sometimes the most powerful thing we can do is whisper to someone struggling in the darkness, "Tell me your real wish. Let me help carry it with you." The accidentally sent email remained in both their inboxes, a reminder that sometimes our greatest vulnerabilities become our greatest strengths, and that the wishes we're most afraid to speak aloud are often the ones that, when shared, have the power to change everything.